If you do this one thing every single week, your grocery bills will drop. If you are super tired of rising grocery prices, there is one often overlooked but super easy habit. And if you will adopt this habit every single week, then your grocery budget will drop. In this video, I'll tell you exactly what that habit is, and then I'll take you behind the scenes in my actual kitchen to show you what it looks like in our home. And then stick with me because I am going to demonstrate an amazing way to use leftover sweet potatoes to create dairy-free tostadas. Just in case you're new here, I'm Hope, and this is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. The United States discards nearly 40 million tons of food a year. That's 40 billion pounds of food. That's 30 to 40% estimated of the entire amount that the United States actually produces in food every single year. Now, you might think that like restaurants, grocery stores, food service companies, surely they're the majority of that food waste, but the truth is they're not. They only account for 40% of that food waste, and individual families in the United States account for 43% of that food waste. Now, this should give you a major hint as to what this habit I'm going to share today actually centers around. Are you ready for the habit? Here it is. I'll do my famous drum roll. The habit is you need to designate one day a week in which you inventory all of your perishable foods and create a plan to use those foods up before they rot. Now, the question you might have is what difference, seriously, is this going to make in my food budget? When we started doing this, then it dropped our personal grocery budget for our family by 25%. Now, I wanted to show you exactly what that looks like in our home. So on a recent Thursday, totally impromptu, I told Larry, grab the GoPro camera, head upstairs to the kitchen, and we actually rolled the GoPro footage while I did this live for you to show you exactly what it looks like to inventory the perishable food in our house and how I created a plan to use it. First place you're going to start when you are reverse menu planning is your kitchen. You need to have a list of all of your perishable food items, and that always starts with this handy dandy. We have showed this before. This is the perishable food inventory. You should fill out one of these once a week. Usually I start with the most perishable things at the top and I move my way down to the least perishable food items. Let's take a look at the food that I have available for this week. We'll start over here. I have 12 of these. True story, guys. I bought these on sale at Aldi. They were on sale. I bought them for a party that my kids were having in their class. It was their final day of our homeschool co-op. I bought them thinking they'd be great to take to the party and got home and they were rock hard. Like they definitely were not ripe. They were not going into the party. So they've been sitting here a few days. I think I'm going to take them out and I'm going to put them in a brown paper bag because the ethylene gas should be released and help them to ripen a little bit more quickly, because otherwise I don't know how long they're going to take to ripen. But I have 12 of those. I have literally 2 oranges. Moving over here, we have 2.5 large white onions. I'm going to call this about maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 cups of some cut kale. Larry loves kale. It's like his favorite thing in the whole world. Kale. I have about 6 cups of kale. I have 11 of these. You can tell I've had these beets in there for a while. We're starting to get like leaves on the beets. Don't throw these out. If you have beets that are starting to do this, cut the top of it off and then cut this up real small. It makes a great addition to vegetable soup, so don't throw that part out. Or if you don't want to put it in soup, at the very least, put it in your bag in the freezer to be used later for making homemade vegetable stock. I have 3 carrots. Yes, 3. They're not very big either. 1 lone stalk of celery. My goal for this week, by the way, in case you're wondering, is to use all this and avoid going to the grocery store, because we talked about this as well. The more often you're in the grocery store, statistically, the more on average you're going to spend in any given month. So I'm trying to wait at least until Wednesday when the new ads come out and I've got some different things that I can purchase on sale. So this is being recorded on Monday. My goal is to wait at least 2 or 3 days before I head to the grocery store. We're gonna swing right over here. We got a couple of way cool things to show you over here. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? This is fresh dill. Our son was given this fresh dill and he brought it home to his mother. That is a true gift of love, guys. When your teenage son brings you fresh dill, you know, like you have hit the big time of the Best Mother in the World award. This is it. This, I am gonna use this in a couple of recipes. I'll talk in just a hot sec about just recipes ideas I have with all of these ingredients. Most of this is going to go in the dehydrator. Dill, I know from experience, does not freeze super well, so it is going to go into my dehydrator in batches, but part of that is going to be used in a recipe or two this week. I'm gonna move this over here. Here's something else I wanted to show you. These are the potatoes that I have in the house. When you have something like this, I'm gonna take them out while I'm talking. The first thing you wanna do, and this goes for like most of your ingredients, unless you have a whole bunch of something, it really is a smart idea, and you'll see on the form, I have quantity in this middle column, because you always want to know exactly how many of any given item you have. When I have something like this, these potatoes have been sitting here for a little while, and if I'm not going to head to the store, I'm going to have to use most of these potatoes. I take them out, and I'm going to pull out the 4 largest ones and set them aside, because there are 4 of us, and I'm feeling like maybe I could do a hot stuffed baked potato night with those. Maybe 4. I might have to throw another couple in there. I don't know. This last one's kind of smallish. So I start putting them in piles according to recipes. That is the easiest way to make sure that A, you're going to use everything up, and B, you're not going to plan too many recipes, say with potatoes, and wind up halfway through your cooking session or halfway through the week actually running out of potatoes. So I'm going to really quick separate these, kind of talking as I go so you can see what my thought process is. I'm going to add another potato here because Larry might want an extra potato to take the next day for work. These small ones, I'm going to pull out about 3-ish. I'm going to say 3 small ones to go with some vegetable soup. And then I have 4 sweet potatoes. I'm going to put that sweet potato right there with that. That's going to go in the vegetable soup too. We have 3 more sweet potatoes left. So we've got hot stuffed baked potatoes. We got some vegetable soup. I'm going to take 4 of these. I'm thinking 4, maybe 5. I'll have 2 left over. You know what? I'm thinking potato salad, and it's gonna take all 6 of these. We'll make a nice batch of potato salad. So out of those potatoes, I already know I have 3 recipes. We've got a hot stuffed baked potato bar, we've got potato salad, and over here we've got the vegetable soup. I have 3 of these sweet potatoes left over. 2 of these sweet potatoes, I'm gonna roast them all together. So you know what I'm gonna do. I am gonna look at our utility company website, and I'm going to find out the least expensive time of the day to use that electric oven. I'm gonna throw all of it into the oven at once. All these potatoes, all these beets from over here, all these beets, all of them are gonna go into the oven, and they're gonna be roasted at the same time. Whenever you're gonna turn your oven on, make sure you fill it, and that's probably, honestly, the only time this entire week that oven behind me is going to be on is for the hour and a half it takes to cook all of those root vegetables. I'm gonna have 2 or 3 of these potatoes left over, so I think probably 2 of these. If you roast a sweet potato until it's really well done, and you like smash it till it's like flat, I don't know how else to say it, smash it till it's smooth. We'll say smooth, that's a better word, isn't it? You can use this instead of cheese to make homemade quesadillas. So it's gonna stick the tortillas together. And then you can put like some other veggies in there, maybe a little bit of salsa, something like that. And then just put it in a nonstick pan, and you're going to toast both sides of it until it's crisp. Homemade quesadillas with sweet potatoes. Super easy, super good. And then I'm gonna have 1 sweet potato left, and I'm gonna figure out what to do with that. So that's how you sort of divide. You count and divide. You're gonna count each of the items, divide them into piles so you know exactly what recipes you think you wanna make with the ingredients that you have just counted. I'll demonstrate how to make those sweet potato tostadas that I talked about. I'll do that in just a couple of minutes, but first a couple of notes about how this whole system of inventory in your perishable food actually works. Works really, really well, guys, if you actually use a form. Now, I like to use this form that I'm showing you right now. As I'm going along, I put a list of the perishable items on the left-hand side of the form, and you'll see there on the right-hand side of the form, I just brainstormed ways that I could use each of those items. The reason this form works really, really well is that it's showing me like how many different dishes I'm going to be using each of those items in, and it kind of helps me figure out if I'm actually using up everything that is perishable. Now, after you're done with this form, it's super helpful to go ahead and fill out a weekly menu plan. You will actually be super surprised how many days you can feed your family just on what you have in the house, because that's one of the huge mistakes we all make, right? It gets to be Thursday or Friday, and for one thing, we're bored. We go to the grocery store because we're like, I don't know, I'm tired of cooking all week. Something got to be at the grocery store that I can throw in the oven and feed my family in 20 minutes. So we head to the grocery store just to grab kind of a quick thing, and we walk out with like $40 or $50 worth of groceries 30 minutes later, because first of all, we're hungry, everything looks good, and secondly, we don't know what we have on hand in the house, so we've just spent a whole lot of money on stuff that we actually didn't need to spend money on. So when you use this inventorying system where you're inventorying those perishable food items once a week, you realize how much you're actually headed to that grocery store when you don't need to be headed to the grocery store. I really like to do a topical menu plan rather than one that goes through the days of the week. Here's the topical menu plan that I came up with based on what I showed you in that video and what was available on that particular Thursday in my home that were perishable food items. You'll notice after my brainstorming session, I did add just a couple of little things to the menu plan. You notice I added some shepherd's pie, some beet burgers, which literally, guys, if you've never had these are like one of our favorite foods in the entire world. Black bean chili, and I did round everything out with some homemade tortillas, added all those to the menu plan. But you'll notice this menu plan is pretty doggone complete, and I will bet this menu plan fed our family for 4 to 5 days, and it did indeed keep me from going to the grocery store and making like major expenses at the grocery store. Now, how about those tostadas? I'm going to show you exactly how I make them. Let's make some super inexpensive quesadillas that don't use cheese. I told you earlier in the video that I often use leftover sweet potatoes, just mash them up. This is literally a half of a mashed up sweet potato. I've got some corn tortillas, and these are some fixings that would normally go on quesadillas. You can really easily make refried beans. These are from a can. Normally, I would use some small black beans. I didn't have any cooked, and the cans of black beans were way in the back of the pantry, way in the back. So I just grabbed these and just mashed them up just a little bit so that they're a little bit smaller. I added a few thinly sliced olives. These are some tomato pieces, and then I've got some salsa. These, by the way, I threw on some chili powder and some garlic powder, and I also added a little bit of onion powder because I like my beans to be a little bit spiced up. Here's how it goes, guys. I'm going to turn this on to preheat the bottom of this. This is a regular nonstick skillet. I've added absolutely no oil at all. I'm going to take a little bit, a couple of tablespoons of the leftover sweet potato. Just put it evenly across here. I'm going to add a little bit more. All right, that's your base. This is what you're gonna use instead of the cheese to hold these together. I'm just gonna go ahead and set that down there. We're gonna add whatever you would like to your quesadilla. Let's add a little bit of these, just a tablespoon or two. You don't want it too lumpy. Oh look, there goes my,
you got one there too.
Some of my beans, okay. And a little bit of salsa. Not too much salsa. You don't want stuff like, you know, coming out the edges. I'm going to add just a little bit of the olives right on there. Now, what are you going to use on the other side to stick it together? You're going to use your refried beans on the other side. So spread your refried beans on this side. These are from a can, like I said. If you want to spice them up, you can add some hot sauce or whatever else you want. Go ahead, put that on top. Kind of smash it down a little bit. There is your quesadilla. All right, literally you're waiting for it just to brown a little bit on one side. I'm gonna carefully lift this up, starting just to brown. Flip that baby over, Yeah, it's not too brown. We'll let it brown just a little bit more. It's gonna take maybe 2 or 3 minutes per side. When you flip it over, that second side isn't gonna take as long, because remember, we just started preheating this skillet right before we made it. So it's gonna take, as you go along and you make your second, third, and fourth one, it's not gonna take quite as long. I'm gonna shoot a couple of photos of what this looks like when it's done. Easy, homemade quesadillas, dairy-free, and you're just using 1 can of refried beans, a can of either black beans or some kidney beans, just odds and ends of whatever else you have in the house, guys, that looks like it would go good on a quesadilla. And then we're using 1/2 of a large cooked sweet potato smashed. That's it. That's the homemade quesadillas. Here's what it looks like finished. I garnished it with just a little bit of cilantro. Normally I would cut it in 4ths, and then there's a little side salad here that basically is just kale along with some red and green peppers, some cucumber, and then just a really simple vinaigrette over the top. And that is supper is served. Easy, quick, and inexpensive. Hey, I hope you found that super helpful, and it showed you what it really looks like in real life to do a weekly perishable food inventory day, and how that really truly does help you to stretch that grocery budget even further. And at the end of the day, you are spending less every month at the grocery store, and that's really what it's all about, right? If you found this helpful, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up and share this video with others. If you're not subscribed to Under the Media, make sure you subscribe and you hit the bell notification button. Now, if you want to see me do another zero food waste menu plan, we did a video on it and it's right over there.